The slap landed on my left cheek. And what I heard wasn't the sound of it, it was the sharp intake of breath from everyone around me. Over 20 people were there. My business partners, Sun Yanqing's clique of girlfriends, and the friends of her so-called male best friend, Xin Yanjun. Dazhuang's hand was heavy, after all. I paid him 3 million a year. So his strength was no joke. My head was knocked 45 degrees to the side. A metallic, salty taste spread from the corner of my mouth. I didn't move. I stared at the reflective marble floor, where my face stared back, the left side already swelling. Gu Yan, are you okay? Someone asked quietly. It was my assistant, Zhou Shin, standing 3 meters away, his face pale. I looked up. Sun Yanqing was sitting on the sofa, her legs crossed, her red high heels swinging lazily. She tilted her wine glass slightly toward Xin Yanjun and raised her chin. Well, feel better now? Xin Yanjun, wearing a gray cashmere coat, slowly adjusted his cuff. Barely, he chuckled. Next time, tell your husband not to scowl at me. I looked at Sun Yanqing. She didn't even glance at me. The entire time, her eyes were fixed on Xin Yanjun. That look was all too familiar, ingratiating, nervously eager, as if the person sitting there wasn't her so-called friend, but her master. Dazhuang stood beside me, head down, his hand still trembling slightly. President Gu, I'm sorry, he said quietly. Mrs. Su said if I didn't do it, she'd have you fire me and make sure I could never work in this industry again. I didn't look at him. I wiped the blood from my mouth and stood up straight. The silence around us was so thick I could hear the hum of the air conditioning. Those business partners all kept their heads down, some scrolling on their phones, others holding their glasses, not knowing where to look. Not a single person spoke up for me. Of course not, because in their eyes, Gu Yan being afraid of his wife was nothing new. I'd put up with it for 3 years. From the first time Sun Yanqing called me a coward in front of others. From the first time she used my money to buy Xin Yanjun a birthday gift. From the first time she kicked me out of the bedroom and made me sleep in the study. I endured it for 3 full years. I thought my concessions would earn her respect. I thought if I gave her enough material things, she'd understand who truly treated her well. But today, she had the bodyguard I paid for slap me in the face, in front of more than 20 people, just to please her male best friend. I took a deep breath. The string in my chest that had been taut for 3 years finally snapped. Zhou Shin, I said, my voice steady. My assistant immediately came over. President Gu, bring the car around to the underground garage and wait for me. Yes. As he turned, I saw his hand gripping his phone so tightly his knuckles were white. I didn't look at Sun Yanqing. I turned and walked out. Behind me came Xin Yanjun's dismissive laugh. Leaving already? Won't even say a word? Yanqing, your husband is such a Yanjun. Sun Yanqing interrupted, her tone amused. Stop it. He's like that. I'm used to it. Like that. Used to it. I didn't stop walking. I left the private room, walked down the hallway, and got into the elevator. As the doors closed, I raised my hand and touched my left cheek. It was swollen badly. Did it hurt? Yes. But compared to the physical pain, my chest hurt more. It felt like something had been ripped out of me. I stood in the elevator for a few seconds. Then I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. Attorney Wang, tomorrow morning at 10. Come to my office. President Gu? It's late. What happened? I want a divorce. 2 seconds of silence on the other end. Understood. 10 tomorrow. I hung up. My heartbeat was steady. Steadier than any day in the past 3 years. That night, I didn't go home. I had Zhou Shin drive me to the office and slept on the sofa there. Sleep wasn't really the word. I spent the whole night thinking. When did my marriage to Sun Yanqing start to go wrong? Probably 2 years ago. After Xin Yanjun appeared. Xin Yanjun, educated overseas. Family and trading. Refined looking. Soft spoken. Sun Yanqing said he was an old classmate. Purely friends. I believed her. Then this purely friends relationship started involving frequent dinners, coffee dates, and gallery outings with my wife. I brought it up once. Sun Yanqing threw my cup. Can you stop being so petty? He's my friend. Do you think every man is trying to seduce me? I never brought it up again. Then she started using my supplementary cards to buy things for Xin Yanjun. A belt for 8,000. A pair of shoes for 12,000. A watch for 130,000. I said, this doesn't seem appropriate. She sneered at me. You make so much money. What's a little spending? Yanjun has helped me so much. Can I buy him a gift to show gratitude? You're just small-minded. Small-minded. I shut up. Later, I was kicked out of the bedroom. Reason: my snoring affected her sleep. But I'd never snored before. I was just exhausted. The company was negotiating a big deal, and I'd worked overtime for 2 weeks straight. My body worn out, so I snored occasionally. She couldn't tolerate even one night. I moved into the study. From then on, our marriage became a mere contract. She spent my money, lived in my house, drove my car, and used all the memberships I'd bought for her. And what did I get in return? Public humiliation. Treated like a dog by her male best friend. Slapped by the bodyguard I paid for. Thinking about it, I sat up. Outside the window, dawn had broken. 7:30 a.m. I turned on my computer and pulled up all the asset details related to Sun Yanqing. The house, that riverside luxury apartment, worth 23 million. I bought it before marriage, with only my name on the deed, but I added hers after we married. The cars, a Porsche Cayenne and a Mercedes G-Class. The Cayenne was her daily driver. The G-Class I bought when she complained the Cayenne wasn't imposing enough. Both were in her name. Supplementary cards. 3 credit cards with a total limit of 5 million. Monthly spending averaged 3 to 400,000. Club memberships, golf, spa, equestrian, annual fees totaling over 800,000. I read through each item. In 3 years, I'd spent nearly 40 million on Sun Yanqing. 40 million. In exchange for one slap. At 8, Zhou Shen knocked, bringing breakfast and a fresh shirt. He glanced at me but said nothing. I changed and took a few bites of congee. Zhou Shen. Yes. A few things today. I need you to handle them. Go ahead. First, contact the banks. Freeze all 3 supplementary cards under Sun Yanqing's name. Zhou Shen paused, then nodded. Got it. Second, the Porsche Cayenne was also bought with my funds. Find out what documents are needed for title transfer. The Mercedes too. Got it. Third, contact the property management and the legal team. I'm starting the process to remove her name from the property deed. Zhou Shen looked up. There was a complex expression in his eyes. Relief? Satisfaction? Both. President Gu. He hesitated. Once we start all this, Mrs. Su will definitely make a scene. I leaned back, touching my left cheek. Still hurt. I know. You're sure about this? It's been 3 years. Zhou Shen. I looked at him. I was slapped in public. In my entire life. No one has ever humiliated me like that. It was done by a man I paid for, on my wife's orders, to please another man. Tell me, what is there to hesitate about? Zhou Shen said nothing more. He nodded and left to handle things. At 10 sharp, Attorney Wang arrived. I briefed him on the situation. After hearing it, he adjusted his glasses. President Gu, if we go through litigation, given your current assets and the evidence, the odds are strongly in your favor. How so? The property is premarital, although you added her name. If we can prove the other party is at fault, we can prove it, I said. I opened my drawer and slid him a USB drive. This contains 2 years of spending records, transfer records, and some questionable chat logs. Attorney Wang took the USB, looking at me. You've been collecting this? I shook my head. Not deliberately. Every time she transferred money to Xinyanjun, the bank sent me a notification. I just never deleted them. Also, I paused. The private room from that night had surveillance. The footage of the slap should still be available. Please retrieve it. Attorney Wang stood up and extended his hand. President Gu, I'll take this case. I shook his hand. After he left, I brewed a cup of tea and sat at my desk. The sunlight outside was beautiful. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe. My phone rang. Sun Yanqing. I stared at it for a few seconds, then didn't answer. A minute later, a text came in. You didn't come home last night? Where are you? No concern in her tone. Pure interrogation. I turned the phone over. Screen down. Took a sip of tea. What's the rush? The show's just beginning. Just past 11 in the morning. Sun Yanqing sent a second message. My card isn't working. What's going on? Check it. Still commanding. That's how she talked to me for 3 years, not asking. Not requesting, but ordering. I didn't reply. At noon, a third message. Gu Yan, what are you doing? I had an appointment to get my hair done, and the card wouldn't go through. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that is? Embarrassing. Me getting slapped, not embarrassing. You not being able to use your card, that's embarrassing. I put my phone down and went to the restaurant downstairs with Zhou Shen for lunch. Halfway through, my phone rang. Not Sun Yanqing. Daozhuang. I hesitated for 2 seconds, then answered. President Gu. Daozhuang's voice was low, like he was trying to keep it down. What? Mrs. Su asked me to ask you, what's going on with the card? I took a bite of braised pork, chewed, and swallowed. Daozhuang, do you really think you're still in a position to relay messages for her? Silence on the other end. President Gu. About yesterday. I'm truly sorry. I don't apologize. I cut him off. You made your choice. But you should know that choices come with consequences. As of today, you're no longer my bodyguard. President Gu. I won't pursue the contract penalty. You're free to go. I hung up. Zhou Shen looked at me, hesitating to speak. Go ahead. Daozhuang has been with you for 3 years. Yes, 3 years. I put down my chopsticks. In 3 years, I never treated him unfairly. I paid for his mother's hospital bills. I covered his brother's tuition. But he chose to slap me. No matter the reason. He did it. Zhou Shen nodded and said no more. At 2 in the afternoon, I returned to my office. Sun Yanqing had called 7 times. I didn't answer any. At 2:30, she finally sent a long message. Gu Yan, what's your game? Are you throwing a tantrum over that little thing yesterday? Can you be more mature? It was a joke. Yanjun didn't even take it seriously. So why are you making a big deal? Just get my card working again. I have a spa appointment tomorrow. Little thing. A joke. I stared at those two words, the corner of my mouth twitching, having her husband slapped in front of more than 20 people. In her eyes, it was nothing. A joke. I took a deep breath. Typed a reply. We'll talk when I get home. I put the phone down, picked up a pen and wrote a few lines on the blank paper in front of me. Step 1. Cut off financial support. Completed. Step 2. Reclaim vehicles. Step 3. Remove her name from the property. Step 4. Recover large transfers made during the marriage. Step 5. Divorce. I finished writing and looked it over, then added one more line at the bottom. Make her understand what it means to lose me. At 5 in the afternoon, I left work early and drove home. That riverside luxury apartment, 200 square meters, costing $23 million. Renovations cost another $3 million. Every piece of furniture, every lamp, I picked them out myself. I pushed the door open. Sun Yanqing was sitting in the living room, looking terrible. She wore a silk nightgown, her hair down, yesterday's makeup still half on. Seeing me come in, she jumped to her feet. Gu Yan, you're finally back. What the hell are you doing? I changed into slippers and sat down across from her, calmly watching her. Sit down and talk. She paused, probably not used to this tone from me. I used to always speak to her with negotiation, concession, appeasement. Not today. She frowned and sat down, crossing her legs, tapping the armrest impatiently. All right, what's going on? Cards are frozen. I know they're frozen. I'm asking why. Because I froze them. Her pupils dilated slightly. What did you say? 3 supplementary cards. I had the bank freeze them. Starting today, they won't be reactivated. Sun Yanqing opened her mouth, then suddenly laughed. You're joking. Right. No. Gu Yan, have you lost your mind? Her voice rose. Because of that one stupid thing yesterday. That one stupid thing? I cut her off. My voice wasn't loud, but she clearly stopped. Because she'd never seen this expression on my face before. Cold. Utterly cold. You had the man I pay for slap me in front of more than 20 people. All to please your male best friend. To you, that's one stupid thing? Sun Yanqing's lips moved. You're just petty. Dazhuang didn't even use full force. It's not like your face is really, Sun Yanqing. My voice dropped. She shut up instinctively. Take a good look at this side of my face. I turned my head. My left cheek was still swollen. A bruise was forming at the corner of my mouth. She glanced at it, her gaze flickering, but quickly looked away. That doesn't mean you can do this. You freeze my cards. How am I supposed to spend money? You're my husband. Supporting me is only right. Only right. Hearing those words from her mouth made my 3 years of endurance feel like a joke. Starting today, I stood up. It's not just the cards, the cars, the house. Everything I funded, I'm taking it all back. Sun Yanqing was completely stunned. What did you say? I want a divorce. The 2 words landed, and the living room fell so quiet I could hear the refrigerator humming. She sat there, her expression cycling from shock to disbelief to fury. You're saying divorce? She stood up, her voice sharp enough to crack. Gu Yan, what gives you the right to divorce me? Are you seeing someone else? Is there another woman? I turned and walked toward the bedroom. No, toward the study. For 3 years, the study had been my bedroom. I'll have my lawyer contact you. If we can't negotiate, we'll go through legal proceedings. Behind me came the sound of something shattering, probably the vase from the coffee table. I didn't look back. I went into the study, closed the door, locked it, then sat down at the desk. My heartbeat was steady. My hands were steady. No hesitation at all. My phone rang again. Not Sun Yanqing. An unknown number. I answered. Gu Yan? It was Shen Yanjun's voice. I leaned back in my chair. What? Yanqing told me. His tone was light, even amused. Don't you think you're overreacting? Yesterday was just drunken fun. You're a grown man. Shouldn't you have a little tolerance? I was silent for a few seconds. Shen Yanjun listened carefully. From now on, anything between you and Sun Yanqing has nothing to do with me. If you want to support her, go ahead. Her monthly spending is 300,000 to 400,000. If you can afford it, I admire you. Silence on the other end. I hung up and blocked the number. Over the next 3 days, I didn't go home. I stayed at the office. Zhou Shen updated me on progress every day. Day 1, all 3 supplementary cards were cancelled. The bank handled the paperwork. Sun Yanqing went to the branch and made a scene, and security escorted her out. Day 2, the transfer documents for both cars were prepared. Since the purchase invoices, insurance, and all paperwork were in my name, even if the registration listed hers, the law was on my side. The lawyer said the court would freeze the vehicles within a week, restricting their use. Day 3, the legal petition to remove her name from the property was filed with the court. Her name was added after marriage, but the property was my premarital asset. The lawyer said the chances of winning were extremely high. On the evening of the 3rd day, Sun Yanqing could no longer stay calm. Because her car was restricted, it wouldn't start. The system indicated the vehicle was under court-ordered asset preservation. She called me first. I didn't answer. Then she called Joshin. He didn't answer either. On my instruction. Finally, she called my mother. My mother forwarded the call to me. Yenzi, Yanqing says you two are having a fight? Mom, I'm getting a divorce. Several seconds of silence on the other end. You've thought it through? Yes. My mother paused. Then sighed. Truth be told, I've wanted to say this for a while. That girl. She's not right for you. You decide for yourself. I support you. My nose stung a little. These 3 years. My mother had seen it all but never interfered. Because she respected me. She thought it was my family matter. Mine to decide. But she'd always been uneasy. Sun Yanqing had never once called her mom with sincerity. When we visited for the new year, she never stayed more than 2 days, complaining about the conditions. Complaining about my mother's cooking. My mother put up with it. But now, she didn't have to. Mom, when this is over, I'll bring you to the city to live. No, I'm not used to it. Just take care of yourself. All right. I hung up and checked the time. 9 in the evening. Suddenly, someone knocked urgently on my office door. Not Joshin, he wouldn't knock so frantically. I got up and opened it. Sun Yanqing stood outside. She wore a trench coat. Her hair tied high, makeup carefully done, but there were dark circles under her eyes. She probably hadn't slept well these 3 days. Du Yen. She looked at me. For the first time, I saw something called panic on her face. We need to talk, she said. I stepped aside and held the door open. She walked in. She stood in front of my desk but didn't sit. I didn't invite her to. What exactly do you want? She cut straight to the point. I've told you, divorce. Why? Because of one slap? I looked at her. You think that's not enough? Du Yen, don't you think you're overreacting? She took a breath, softening her tone. I admit I was wrong that day. And I apologize. But you don't have to go this far, freezing cards, not letting me drive, now taking back the house. Those things were never yours. She choked. What do you mean? Not mine? We're married. Aren't marital assets shared? Premarital assets aren't. But you added my name to the house. That was my mistake, I said calmly. And now I'm correcting it. Sun Yanqing's face paled. She stepped closer, her voice softening further. Gu Yan, let's not do this. Okay? I know you're upset, and I can change. I won't spend recklessly anymore. And I won't let Yanjun, you don't need to change. I cut her off. I have no expectations of you anymore. Changing or not, it makes no difference to me. She stared at me, her eyes starting to redden. Gu Yan, you've changed. You forced me to change. How did I force you? Her voice rose again. I just had Dazhuang scare you a little. He barely even hit you. And you resent me for that? I let out a short laugh. Sun Yanqing, do you know how I've lived these past 3 years? She froze. I got up at 6 every morning and didn't come home until 10 at night. Working weekends was the norm. I worked my ass off to give you a good life. I bought you cars, bags, memberships, whatever you wanted. I gave it to you. I thought you'd be grateful, understanding, maybe even care about me a little. But you didn't. You treated me like an ATM. You took my concessions for granted. You even thought having someone slap me in the face was a joke. My voice was calm, but Sun Yanqing's face grew paler by the second. You say you can change? I stared at her. What will you change? Your attitude toward Xinyanjun? Or your spending habits? Can you really change? Her lips moved, but no words came out. I'm tired, Sun Yanqing. I turned to my desk and picked up a document. This is the divorce agreement my lawyer prepared. Take a look. She took it, her hands trembling. She opened the first page, and her expression immediately changed. The house goes to you. The cars go to you? You're only giving me 500,000? The 500,000 is compensation, I said. The money you spent during our marriage, I've already given you that. Gu Yan! She slammed the document on the desk. You're dreaming. My name is on that house. Those cars are mine. What makes you think you get everything? Then we'll go through the legal process. My tone didn't waver. Get a lawyer. I'll see you in court. Sun Yanqing stared at me, her chest heaving. Gu Yan, you'll regret this. No, I won't. You think you can find someone better without me? She sneered. You're just a workaholic who can't do anything but make money. Boring and dull. If I hadn't seen your financial prospects, who would have married you? If I'd heard this 3 days ago, it might have hurt. But now, I only found it laughable. Then consider yourself free now, I said. She bit her lip, and the tears finally fell. But the way she cried wasn't out of sorrow. It was anger and unwillingness. Fine, Gu Yan. You're ruthless. She wiped her tears and turned to leave. At the door, she stopped and looked back at me. I'm telling you, this isn't over. Then she slammed the door. The office fell silent again. I sat back in my chair and closed my eyes. The space in my chest felt empty, but light, like I'd finally dropped a stone I'd been carrying for 3 years. My phone buzzed. A message from Joshin. President Gu. Mrs. Su just went to the underground garage and tried to drive off. But the car wouldn't start. She's standing next to it, making phone calls. I typed back 2 words. Ignore it. 10 minutes later, Joshin messaged again. She took a cab. I put my phone down, got up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Outside was the city nightscape. Lights blazed. Traffic flowed. Before, standing here, I'd always think about how to make more money. How to keep Sun Yanqing happy. Now, standing here, I just wanted to move forward. Alone. The next morning, I received a call from Attorney Wang. President Gu, the other party's lawyer has contacted me. What did they say? They're requesting a renegotiation of the asset division. They argue that since the property and vehicles have her name on them, they should be considered marital assets. And they're asking for at least half. I refuse. Understood. Then we'll proceed with litigation. Attorney Wang paused. But there's one thing I need to caution you about. Go ahead. The other lawyer mentioned that Mrs. Su handled a significant amount of household labor during the marriage and gave up career opportunities for it. They'll use that to demand higher compensation. I laughed. Household labor? We had a housekeeper who came 3 times a week. Meals were takeout. Laundry was done by the machine. Cleaning by the housekeeper. The only housework Sun Yanqing ever did was occasionally tidying up her own cosmetics. As for career, I said, she hasn't had a real job since graduating college. She didn't give up her career for the family. She just never wanted to work. I'll address all of this in court. If you have evidence, I do. The housekeeper's employment contract, takeout order records, and her own social media. She mostly posts about afternoon tea, beauty treatments, and hanging out with friends. Perfect, Attorney Wang said. We'll proceed as planned. I hung up and went to the coffee shop downstairs for a cup. While waiting in line, I overheard 2 people behind me talking. Did you hear? Gu from Gu Corporation is getting divorced. Really? Isn't his wife pretty? Pretty doesn't mean much. Word is she's been throwing money around. And she has a very close male best friend. Male best friend? You mean keep it down. Anyway, Gu is serious this time, even taking back the house. I turned with my coffee. The 2 people froze. Probably didn't expect me to be right behind them. I nodded at them and walked away. Back in my office, Zhou Shen was waiting. President Gu, there's something. Go ahead. Dezhuang went to Mrs. Su's place this morning. I paused. He's her bodyguard now. Looks like it. I saw him drive her to the law firm. I laughed. Good. Saves me from paying severance. Zhou Shen seemed to want to say more. Just say it. Dezhuang was with you for 3 years. 3 years? Which means he knows better than anyone what that slap meant. I cut him off. Zhou Shen, remember this. Loyalty is either there or it isn't. There's no in between. He made his choice. I made mine. That's that. Zhou Shen nodded and didn't press further. At 3 in the afternoon, I went to the bank. I requested the full transaction history for all accounts under Sun Yanqing's name. Over the past 2 years, she'd made 23 transfers to Xinyanjun. The smallest was 8,000. The largest was 150,000. Altogether, 1,470,000 yuan. I organized the records and sent them to Attorney Wang. I want every single one of those transfers recovered. That evening, when I returned to the company, I didn't go straight upstairs. I sat in the car for a while. I thought back to 3 years ago. I'd just made my first entrepreneurial success. The company was on solid footing. I met Sun Yanqing at a friend's wedding. She wore a white dress and had a beautiful smile. We exchanged WeChat. She asked me out to a movie. We started dating. 6 months later, I proposed. She said yes. On our wedding day, she stood before me in her gown. I thought I'd found the right person. I thought we'd make it to the end. But I was wrong. I'd fallen for her face and the persona she put on. The real her was selfish, vain, and cold. She never loved me. She loved my money. I opened the car door and got out. I looked up at the company building. 23 floors. My office was on the top floor. I built this with my own hands. No one could take it from me. Not even Sun Yanqing. A week later, the court summons arrived. Zhou Shen brought it to my office. President Gu, the trial date is set for the 15th of next month. Good. I opened the summons and glanced at it. Sun Yanqing's legal claims were clear. She demanded a 50% split of the property, ownership of the vehicles, and an additional 200,000 in compensation for emotional distress. Emotional distress. When I saw those words, I actually laughed out loud. She really has some nerve. Zhou Shen also found it absurd. The court won't support those demands. I know. I put the summons aside. She's just trying to spite me. Oh, and Zhou Shen pulled out another file. Here's the background check on Xinyanjun you requested. I took it and opened it. Xinyanjun, 32. Returned from overseas studies, family and trading, but the business wasn't large. He owned an apartment, a car, and about 2 million in savings. His reputation in the social circle was delicate. One line in the file caught my attention. Xinyanjun has strong social skills and is adept at maintaining relationships. His social circle consists mostly of women, many of them married. He often appears as a soulmate, or confidant. I stared at that sentence for a few seconds. Keep digging. What are we looking for? Find out how many married women he's had financial dealings with. Zhou Shen paused, then understood. Are you thinking, I want to know if Sun Yanqing is his only ATM. Zhou Shen nodded. I'll arrange it immediately. After he left, I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. A scene suddenly surfaced in my mind. A year ago, Sun Yanqing's birthday. I'd started preparing 2 weeks early. I booked her favorite restaurant and bought the bag she'd always wanted. On her birthday, I cancelled all meetings and left work at 6 to go home. But no one was there. I called her. She said she was out with friends and would be late. I said I'd wait at home. She said not to bother, she'd be very late. I waited anyway. From 6 until 11. When she came back, she reeked of alcohol. Her cheeks flushed. I asked how the party was. She said it was great. I gave her the gift. She glanced at it, said thanks, and went to the bedroom. She didn't even open the box. The next day, I found out she'd spent her birthday with Xing Yanjun. He'd posted on social media. In the photo, Sun Yanqing was smiling brightly, brighter than she'd ever smiled at me. That was the first time I realized that in her heart, I might not even measure up to Xing Yanjun. But back then, I was still lying to myself. I told myself she just saw him as a friend. I told myself if I treated her better, she'd come around. Looking back now, it's ridiculous. My phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. Hello, President Gu? It's Dazhuang. I paused for 2 seconds. What do you want? I want to apologize to you. Dazhuang's voice was low. What happened that day? I truly regret it. I shouldn't have. You're working for Sun Yanqing now? He hesitated. President Gu, I have to make a living. You fired me. So I needed to find work. So you went to work for her. Mrs. Su offered. How much? A year. 2 million a year. I laughed. 2 million. She's generous. President Gu. Enough. Dazhuang. I cut him off. You didn't call to apologize. You called to test my stance. Didn't you? He fell silent. You want to know if I'll forgive you. If I'll go soft. If I'll go easy on her in the divorce. That way she gets more money. And you keep your 2 million. Am I right? Dazhuang's breathing was heavy. President Gu. My position is clear. I said. See you in court. I hung up. And blocked that number too. Zhou Shen knocked and came in. President Gu. I found something interesting. Go on. Xing Yanjun, over the past 3 years. Besides Mrs. Su, he's had close relationships with 4 other married women. 2 of them transferred money to him. How much? One over 500,000. The other over 800,000. I nodded. Keep digging into these women's backgrounds. Find out if their husbands know. Zhou Shen paused. President Gu. Are you planning to? I want Xing Yanjun to know. I looked up. Bet he can mess with anyone. Just not me. Zhou Shen nodded. A complex flicker in his eyes. Understood. When he turned to leave, his steps were lighter than usual. Probably glad that I was finally done being the nice guy. I opened my computer and started working through the backlog. The divorce had affected the company's operations somewhat over the past few days. Several projects needed my direct attention. I worked until 9 at night. And my phone rang again. It was my mother. Yanzi. Busy? Just finished. Mom. Good. She paused. Sun Yanqing called me today. My hand stopped moving. What did she say? She was crying. Saying you want to divorce her. That you've changed. That there's someone else. She said she'd given so much to this family over the past 3 years. And now you're kicking her out. Mom, do you believe her? If I did, I wouldn't be calling. My mother sighed. I just wanted to let you know, she might try to get me to pressure you. What did you say? I said I can't interfere in your affairs. She kept going on. So I hung up. A warmth spread through my chest. Mom, thank you? For what? You're my son. I know who you are. My mother's voice softened. Yanzi, these past 3 years haven't been easy for you. I've seen it all. I'm glad you've finally come to your senses. Take care of yourself. Don't stay up too late. And don't live on takeout. Got it. I hung up and leaned back in my chair. My eyes felt warm. These 3 years. The only person who truly cared about me was my mother. And I'd spent most of my time and energy on someone who didn't care about me at all. How ironic. A few days later, Zhou Shen brought new information. President Gu. Here are the files on those women. He placed a folder on my desk. I opened it and read through each one. The first woman, surnamed Li, 35. Her husband in real estate. She transferred 580,000 to Xing Yanjun. The second, surnamed Zhang, 30. Her husband in chain restaurants. She transferred 830,000. The other 2 had no transfer records but were frequently seen with Xing Yanjun at upscale venues. Do their husbands know? No, Zhou Shen said. I checked discreetly. All of them are in the dark. Good. I put the files away. Help me set up a meeting with Mrs. Li's husband. Mr. Li. Say I have a project to discuss with him. Zhou Shen understood. Will do. 2 days later, I met Mr. Li at the company. He was in his 40s. Slightly stocky. With a straightforward manner. President Gu. I heard you wanted to talk about a collaboration? Mr. Li. I actually asked you here today not for business. He blinked. Then, I slid the file over to him. I wanted you to see this. He took it. Puzzled. and opened it. His expression changed instantly. What is this? Your wife has been transferring money to a man named Xinyanjun over the past 2 years. The total is 580,000. This is the bank statement. Mr. Li's hands began to tremble. President Gu. I mean no harm, I said. I just think that as men, we deserve to know the truth. He stared at the transfer records, his face cycling through shades of pale and red. Xinyanjun. I've heard her mention that name. She said he was a friend. He's more than a friend. I pulled out another document. Here are records of their dinners, movies, and trips together. Mr. Li's fists clenched. President Gu, why are you telling me this? Because my wife is also one of Xinyanjun's friends. I looked at him. She transferred 1,470,000 to him. Mr. Li's pupils dilated. So I'm divorcing her, I said. Xinyanjun specializes in approaching married women as a soulmate, and swindling money from them. Your wife isn't the first, and she won't be the last. But now that you know, what you do next is your choice. Mr. Li sat there for a long time without speaking. Finally, he stood up and gave me a long, deep look. President Gu, thank you. Don't mention it. He left with the file. His back seemed a little more hunched as he walked away. Zhou Shen stood nearby and said quietly, Are you trying to? I want Xinyanjun to know that his so-called friends aren't so easy to fool. Over the next few days, I met with the other husbands one by one. I laid the records of their wives' dealings with Xinyanjun before them. Some flew into immediate rage. Others stayed silent. But when each of them left, there was a murderous glint in their eyes. A week later, Xinyanjun was in trouble. First, Mr. Li divorced his wife. Mr. Li had a high standing in their circle, and the news spread quickly. Everyone knew that Mrs. Li had transferred hundreds of thousands to a man named Xinyanjun. Then there was Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang was even more ruthless. He went straight to Xinyanjun's apartment with his men to corner him. I don't know exactly what happened, but Xinyanjun ended up in the hospital for 3 days. When the news reached me, I was in a meeting. Zhou Shen came in and handed me a note. Xinyanjun is hospitalized. 2 broken ribs. I glanced at it, crumpled it up, and continued the meeting. After the meeting, I returned to my office. There were 7 or 8 missed calls on my phone, all from Sun Yanqing. I didn't call back. 10 minutes later, she sent a message. Gu Yan, was it you? I stared at the line and didn't reply. A few more minutes passed, and she sent another. What do you want? You're already divorcing me. Can't you leave Yanjun alone? He's just my friend. Friend. Even now, she used that word. Finally, I replied, you transferred 1,470,000 to him. I'm going to recover that money in the divorce proceedings. If he can't repay it, I'll sue him. Tell him to stop preying on married women. After sending that, I deleted her WeChat, phone, everything blocked. From now on, we'd only meet in court. A week before the trial, I met with Attorney Wang to discuss the final details. President Gu, our evidence is very strong. The property and vehicle ownership shouldn't be a problem. The key point is that 1,470,000 in transfers. What's their argument? The other lawyer says it was Mrs. Su's personal freedom, and there's no proof of an improper relationship between her and Xinyanjun. Improper relationship? I laughed coldly. A married woman transferring over 1 million yuan to another man, that's not improper? The law requires more direct evidence. For instance, I understand. I cut him off. But I don't need to prove they had an affair. I just need to prove that these transfers didn't comply with normal principles of marital property use. Attorney Wang nodded. That's the right angle. We'll emphasize that. One more thing, I said. Who paid for Sun Yanqing's legal fees? He paused. I'll check. Probably she paid herself. Dig deeper. All right. The next day, Attorney Wang called. President Gu, I found it. Xinyanjun paid the legal fees, 150,000. I laughed. He still has money for lawyers? Apparently his family gave it to him. Good, I said. Add that to the evidence too. Him paying her legal fees only strengthens the case that their relationship is more than ordinary. Understood. After hanging up, I leaned back in my chair. Suddenly, something occurred to me. Sun Yanqing's parents. They still didn't know about the divorce. Or rather, she hadn't told them, because she knew her parents would take my side. Her parents were ordinary working-class people. Her father was a middle school teacher. Her mother was a nurse. Both were very down-to-earth. When we first got married, they were especially happy. Their daughter had married well. After the wedding, I gave them red envelopes every New Year. When they got sick, I took them to the best hospitals. When they wanted to travel, I booked the flights and hotels. Sun Yanqing was decent to her parents, but she never voluntarily gave them money. I was the one who did. Now that I think about it, her parents' kindness toward me was probably more genuine than her kindness toward me. I thought for a moment, then picked up my phone and dialed her father's number. Gu Yan? Her father's voice was surprised. It's so late. Is something wrong? Uncle, is it a good time to talk? Of course. Go ahead. Yanqing and I are getting a divorce. Several seconds of silence. What? We have a court date next week. I'm calling in advance to let you know this. What happened? Nianqing. Uncle. I can't go into all the details, but I want you to know one thing. I have not wronged her. Her father's breathing was heavy. Guyan. Wait. Let me get her mother on the line. There was muffled conversation on the other end. A moment later, her mother's voice came through. Guyan. What did you just say? Auntie, Nianqing and I are getting divorced. Why? Weren't you two doing well? Auntie, we haven't been well. For a long time. I paused. Over the past 3 years. She's made a friend. Named Xinyanjun. She transferred 1,470,000 to him. A sharp intake of breath. Over 1 million? Yes. That money was earned by me. But she transferred it to that man without my consent. That girl. How could she do this? Her mother's voice trembled. Guyan. Wait, I'm going to see her right now. Auntie, please don't rush. I said. I'm not calling to get you to confront her. I just want you to know the truth. So that later, she doesn't tell you that I was the one who wronged her. Her father spoke up. Guyan, don't worry. We'll get to the bottom of this. Thank you, Uncle. Don't thank me. Her father sighed. Guyan, you've been good to our family all these years. It's Nianqing who let you down. After hanging up, I felt a little lighter. At least I had a clear conscience. 2 days later, Su Nianqing sent me a message from a new number. Guyan, you went and tattled to my parents? How malicious can you be? Do you know my mom is crying every day now because of you? Her blood pressure is through the roof. I read the messages. No reply. Blocked again. The next day, her father called. Guyan, I'm so sorry. We failed to teach her properly. Uncle, please don't say that. We talked to Nianqing. She denies the transfers. Saying you fabricated it all. Her father's voice was weary. But her mother and I both know, you're not that kind of person. Thank you for trusting me. Uncle, Guyan, we won't stand in the way of the divorce. Let the law decide. Nianqing, she's been spoiled by us all these years. Uncle, this isn't your fault. If you ever remarry, bring your new wife to see us. We'll apologize to you properly. My nose stung. Okay. I hung up and stood by the window, looking out at the city. It was almost dark. Streetlights flickered on one by one. I remembered the first time I brought Su Nianqing to meet my parents. 3 years ago. My mother held her hand, overjoyed, saying finally someone would take care of me. My father was also pleased, saying she looked like she'd bring good fortune. Now, looking back, it was ironic. She didn't bring fortune. She brought ruin. The day of the trial arrived. That morning, I wore a dark blue suit. Attorney Wang was already waiting at the courthouse entrance. President Gu. Ready? Yes. We walked in together. The trial was on the 3rd floor. At the door, I saw Su Nianqing. She was sitting on a bench in the hallway, next to her lawyer, and Xinyanjun. Xinyanjun still had bruises on his face, not fully healed. When he saw me, his eyes darted away. Su Nianqing, however, stared at me, her eyes filled with hatred. I didn't look at her. I walked straight into the courtroom. At 9 o'clock sharp, the trial began. The judge was a woman in her 50s, with a stern expression. Court is now in session for the divorce case of plaintiff Gu Yan versus defendant Su Nianqing. Both parties, please state your claims. Attorney Wang stood up. Your Honor, the plaintiff's claims are as follows. First, a decree of divorce. Second, the property on Jiangjing Road to be awarded to the plaintiff. Third, both vehicles to be awarded to the plaintiff. Fourth, the defendant to return the total sum of 1,470,000 yuan transferred to a third party, Xinyanjun, during the marriage. Fifth, court costs to be borne by the defendant. Su Nianqing's lawyer also stood. Your Honor, the defendant's response is as follows. First, consent to the divorce. Second, the property should be divided equally, and the vehicles awarded to the defendant. Third, the transfers were the defendant's personal discretionary spending and are not subject to repayment. Fourth, the plaintiff should pay the defendant 1 million yuan in compensation. The judge nodded. Plaintiff, please present your evidence. Attorney Wang submitted the prepared evidence one by one. Property deed, purchase contract, vehicle invoices, bank transfer records. The most crucial were the statements showing Su Nianqing's transfers to Xinyanjun, and proof that Xinyanjun had paid her legal fees. Your Honor, from this evidence, it is clear that during the marriage, the defendant made multiple large transfers to a third party, Xinyanjun. The total is 1,470,000 yuan. These transfers were not authorized by the plaintiff, and the amounts are substantial, severely damaging the marital estate. Furthermore, the third party, Xinyanjun, also paid the defendant's legal fees for this case, 150,000 yuan. This sufficiently demonstrates that the relationship between the defendant and the third party is far from ordinary. Su Nianqing's lawyer immediately objected. Your Honor, the defendant and Mr. Xinyanjun are merely ordinary friends. The transfers were based on loans and reciprocal gifts between friends, which is entirely legal and reasonable. Loans? Attorney Wang sneered. Then could the defendant produce IOUs for these transfers? Was there any agreed repayment schedule? Any written proof at all? Sun Yanqing's lawyer faltered. Loans between friends don't necessarily require written proof. Don't necessarily? Attorney Wang interrupted. 1,470,000 is not 1,400. For such a large sum. Without even an I. Oh, you still call it a loan? Your Honor, we submit that these were not loans at all, but the defendant's gratuitous gifts to a third party. And these gifts were made without the plaintiff's knowledge and far exceeded the scope of ordinary household agency. Under the Civil Code, when one spouse disposes of marital property without authorization, the other spouse has the right to demand restitution. The judge turned to Sun Yanqing. Defendant, do you have anything to say? Sun Yanqing stood up, her voice trembling. Your Honor, I transferred the money to Yanjun because he helped me with a lot of things. What things? The judge asked. Sun Yanqing froze. Just things in daily life. Such as? Like going shopping with me. Having meals with me. And that warrants 1,470,000? Sun Yanqing's face flushed red. Defendant, please answer the question directly. The judge's tone sharpened. When you transferred the money to Yanjun, did you obtain the plaintiff's consent? No. Do you think that was appropriate? Sun Yanqing bit her lip and fell silent. The judge then looked at me. Plaintiff, do you have anything to add? I stood up. Your Honor, I would like to state one thing. Go ahead. During the marriage, the defendant not only made unauthorized transfers to a third party, but also repeatedly humiliated me in public, disregarding my feelings. On the 23rd of last month, she even instructed a bodyguard I employed to slap me in front of more than 20 people, all to please the third party. Yanjun. As I spoke, the courtroom erupted. Murmurs came from the gallery. The judge tapped her gavel. Order. Plaintiff, do you have evidence? Yes. Attorney Wang immediately submitted the surveillance footage from the private room that night. The video was clear. Dajwan walked over and slapped me. Sun Yanqing sat on the sofa, smiling at Yanjun. Feel better? Yanjun adjusted his cuff and said, barely. The courtroom fell dead silent. After watching the video, the judge's expression turned severe. Defendant, how do you explain this? Sun Yanqing's face went pale. It was just a joke. A joke? The judge's voice rose. Having your husband publicly slapped is a joke? Defendant, this behavior seriously violates the fundamental marital obligation of mutual respect. Sun Yanqing sat down, trembling all over. Yanjun, in the gallery, looked equally unsettled. The judge reviewed the case file, then looked at both parties. The facts of this case have been established. Court is adjourned. A verdict will be announced on a later date. The gavel fell. The trial was over. I stood up and adjusted my suit. I turned to leave. At the door, Sun Yanqing suddenly called out, Gu Yan! I stopped but didn't turn around. Satisfied? Her voice was tearful. You've ruined me. Are you satisfied now? I turned to look at her. You ruined yourself. All I've done is protect what's rightfully mine. And I walked away without looking back. A week later, the verdict came down. The court upheld almost all of my claims. The property was mine. The vehicles were mine. Sun Yanqing had to return the 1,470,000. The only difference was that the court awarded her 100,000 in compensation. Reason: she had no income during the marriage. 100,000. When I saw the number, I laughed. She wanted 1 million. The court gave her 100,000. Attorney Wang called. President Gu, congratulations. This is an excellent outcome. Thank you. Attorney Wang. The other party may appeal. Let them, I said. The second trial won't overturn it. Indeed. I hung up and leaned back in my chair, letting out a long breath. Finally, it was over. This 3-year-long mistaken marriage. This exhausting relationship. Finally, the end. Zhou Shen knocked and came in. President Gu, someone's downstairs to see you. Who? Sun Yanqing's parents. I paused. Bring them up. A few minutes later, her parents walked into my office. Both looked much older. Uncle, auntie, please sit. Gu Yan. Her mother started speaking, and tears immediately fell. I'm so sorry. Truly. So sorry. Auntie, please don't cry. It's our fault. We didn't raise Yanqing right. Her mother wiped her tears. We came today to apologize to you on her behalf. And to ask. About that million, could you possibly, Auntie? I cut her off. I won't take that money. Both parents froze. You. What did you say? The court ruled that she has to return it. But I won't enforce it. I said. Consider it a parting gift from me. Gu Yan. Her father's eyes reddened. You're such a good boy. But uncle, auntie, I have one condition. Name it. From now on, how she lives has nothing to do with me. Whether she's doing well or not, I don't want to know. Her mother nodded firmly. We understand. Gu Yan, don't worry. When they left, her mother turned back to look at me. Her eyes held guilt, heartache, and resignation. I saw them to the door. When I closed it, I felt a hollowness inside. But it was light, like finally setting down a heavy burden I'd carried too long. In the following days, I threw myself back into work. The company had several new projects to launch. I worked late every night. But this busyness was different. Before, I worked myself to the bone to earn more money and keep Sun Yanqing happy. Now, I worked for myself. To prove that without her, I could live well. Even better. A month later, I met a girl at a business forum. She was a product manager at a tech company. Young, sharp, direct. We talked for a long time. About work. About the industry. About our views on the future. She was insightful and driven. Before leaving, she gave me her business card. President Gu. Let's collaborate sometime. I took the card and glanced at it. We will. Back at the office, I put the card in my drawer. Then I opened my computer and continued working. Outside, the night was deep. The city lights still blazed. I sat there, feeling a peace I hadn't known in a long time. Over these 3 years, I'd lost a lot. I'd lost time. I'd lost money. I'd lost my trust in marriage. But I'd also gained a lot. I learned what kind of person deserves to be cherished. I learned what kind of relationship is worth the investment. And I learned where my limits are. Some things you only appreciate after losing them. Some pain makes you stronger. I don't regret these 3 years. Because without their lessons, I might never have learned to protect myself. I don't hate Sun Yanqing either. Hating an unworthy person is just a waste of time. I only want to move forward. Alone, I can still walk well. My phone buzzed. A message from Joshin. President Gu. Important meeting tomorrow morning, please prepare. I replied with a got it. Then I turned off my computer, got up, and left the office. When I reached the ground floor, I looked up at the sky. Tonight's moon was full. The stars were bright. I took a deep breath and smiled. Starting today, my life sets sail again. This time, I live only for myself.